by Ronnie Chatah, who's a political analyst and the host of podcast The Beirut Banyan. Ronnie, thank you, first of all, for speaking to us on TRT World. Do you know any more? Have you got any more information on this latest attack and your reaction to yet another strike by Israel?
The latest updates, I think, have been live reported on your side as well. The numbers keep rising. I believe the current death toll official figure is 13, injured at 97, but those numbers are going to increase, and they will probably increase significantly. Ain al-Halwa is a dense refugee camp, and Ain al-Halwa is, the thought of Israeli drone missiles striking that refugee camp, there are going to be many civilian casualties. That's a given. I'll put the strike in context. The Lebanese government set out to disarm all sub-state groups, whether they're Palestinian factions or whether they're local, like Hezbollah, and the Lebanese government hasn't advanced much on that front. Some symbolic turnover of weapons happened, with Fatah giving some weapons to the Lebanese army. As for Hamas and Ain al-Halwa, nothing has happened as of yet. So there is disappointment that the Lebanese government is not able yet to extend sovereignty over Lebanon's geography, whether it's refugee camps or Hezbollah. And to add to that, the army commander was disinvited from the U.S. this morning, meant to attend several invitations in the U.S., disinvited. The trip was canceled. There's disappointment and increased U.S. pressure on the Lebanese government to take more action on sub-state groups. And of course, Israeli strikes are happening on a daily basis. This time around, it's Ain al-Halwa in a Palestinian refugee camp, but for the most part, southern Lebanon, since the ceasefire went into effect late last year, has remained a war zone. And there are continued Israeli strikes targeting Hezbollah infrastructure and Hezbollah personnel. So unfortunately, Lebanon remains a war zone a year after a ceasefire, except today is different in that a Palestinian refugee camp and a large death toll just happened minutes ago.
And Ronnie, like you say, it's not the first time that Israel has violated that ceasefire put in place just over a year ago. What does this mean for that ceasefire? What sort of reaction do you expect from it, and will it affect the truce?
I sense there's two things happening at once, and this is an Israeli strike on what they've determined to be a Hamas training facility in Ain al-Halwa. This actually reminds me more of the Israeli strikes against Hamas last year that ran parallel to Hezbollah. I sense this will be not a recurring type of strike. In other words, Hamas, for the large part, has not been on Israel's radar in Lebanon. It's Hezbollah. And I sense this is a one-off. It will not be familiar, at least in the context of what Israel is trying to do in Lebanon, which is prevent Hezbollah from fighting Israel from Lebanon's geography, and by extension, pushing Iran to reconsider its role in Lebanon vis-a-vis Hezbollah. That seems to be the larger goal at play. I doubt these types of strikes will become familiar. That said, Lebanon today is hosting an economic conference for investors to flock to the country, and yet we're a war zone. This is just outside Sidon, Lebanon's third largest city on the coast, just south of Beirut. You have Israeli strikes happening near Sidon, a refugee camp. So both things can happen at once. There is this potential for Lebanon to recover post-ceasefire, and at the same time, we are a war zone by default.
Ronnie, could this be an attempt by Benjamin Netanyahu to continue waging a war in the region? What's your take on that opinion by some?
It is clear that the Israelis have largely determined their security considerations in the region for the better part of the last 2 years, whether it's in Gaza and the end of that round of fighting just months ago, and whether it's Hezbollah, and that's late last year. But that said, the fighting continues. I sense on the Lebanese side, and the way the Israelis operate against Hezbollah, I sense this is a type of action that continues so long as Hezbollah can fight Israel. But Hezbollah is an armed group in Lebanon that cannot fight Israel, I don't think is on Israel's radar. And that could happen down the road. But Hamas in Lebanon, and for that matter, the Palestinian factions that continued well into the post-Civil War era, we're talking now decades of Palestinian factions that remained armed in the country. There is heightened pressure, and we may see a breakthrough here for the Lebanese government to take action. And the reason I say we might see breakthrough here is because this is, by default, a far easier task for the Lebanese army to wage. Hezbollah is a different story. Hezbollah is a Lebanese militia made up of Lebanese civilians, and there is extreme reluctance for the Lebanese army to combat Hezbollah militants in this country. When it comes to Palestinian armed factions, the green light has been given in the sense that you should see some type of disarmament taking place. By negotiation, by dialogue, that will probably happen. At least with Fatah, it has started. Hamas comes next. But unfortunately for Lebanon, time is always borrowed, and we still have the de facto situation of a country full of sub-state groups that can wage war. And I think this is the ultimate burden on Lebanon, whether or not the state can claim full sovereignty or not. Tonight, it is clear it cannot, and Israeli missiles are hitting Lebanon.
Ronnie, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.